in the new canon Throne books, there's one where he teams up with Darth Vader, and he keeps dropping these very obvious hints that he knows that he's Anakin Skywalker. And Darth Vader has to keep turning around and saying, he's dead. Anakin Skywalker no longer exists.
It's like when Prince changed his name. He's like, no, Prince doesn't exist anymore. I'm from there.
The chosen one formerly known as Anakin.
Hello there. You found the Lost Holocron, an ancient artifact of lore and legends from a galaxy far, far away. Each transmission of the Lost Holocron, you will join an episodic discussion of media from the Star Wars universe. We will be your guides. Terrific Tim.
Sup.
We have Kaleidoscopic Kyle.
Howdy.
We have myself, Scrumptulescent Scott. And we have Stupendous Stuart.
Yay!
Kidney Stone Survivor 2024.
Oh, now that we started the podcast, have you passed those kidney stones?
Yeah, I have.
Did you just do it now?
I went to the doctor, and they gave me an ultrasound and said, no, that you're all clear.
Hey.
So whatever leftover pains and discomfort I'm feeling is probably just bruising and internal cuts, lacerations from the stones themselves.
Damn.
A true earthbender, you passed those stones.
Yeah.
We will be covering the material up to and including Chapter 15 of Dark Force Rising. So, Mr. Terrific, what happened so far?
So far, the New Republic is in disarray after a messy skirmish over Sluiss van, with unexplained cash being deposited into Admiral Ackbar's account on the day of the Imperial attack. Ackbar is under arrest on suspicion of treason. Bothan Council member Borsk Fey'lya is taking great advantage of his political rival's misfortune. Han Solo takes it upon himself to investigate the Churba sector, where the Bothans displayed unusual commitment during the Galactic Civil War, hoping to find evidence that Fey'lya may be framing Ackbar and clear his name. Han takes Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrisian to New Cov. Han spots and follows an aide to Fey'lya and stumbles upon an unknown militia group apparently working in concert with the Bothans. Along with Lando, they are forced to escape as an Imperial tribute raid flushes them out of the city. Han and Lando jump to hyperspace in lockstep with the militia, hitching a ride to an undisclosed world. There, the pair are introduced to the commander, Garm Bel Iblis, a long-assumed dead Imperial senator, and somewhat of an icon of Han's childhood. Kaleidoscopic Kyle, what happened this chapter?
Zoom in on this. Enhance.
Yeah, maybe reread that from Suspicious.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Too much enhancing.
It's too kaleidoscopic.
Okay. Anyway. Chapter 15. Bel Iblis regales Han and Lando with the exploits of his militia. However, Lando is in a less than generous mood. When Han notices that Lando is still on his first drink, a tense negotiation surfaces. They learn that Bel Iblis doesn't trust the development of the New Republic, suspicious that power has been too centralized around Mon Mothma. As Bel Iblis must attend to other matters, Han and Lando walk to their prepared accommodations. Lando points out an obvious falsehood in Bel Iblis' claims. The base is not nearly as mobile or active as stated. Their bickering continues as in their room where Lando makes an alarming discovery that the decor has been taken from what could only be the lost Katana fleet. They head back to the headquarters lounge to investigate further.
All right, so
what do you guys think of this chapter?
I really liked it.
I liked it too.
yeah, we've got some good tension rising here.
I like the little bit where it's like I hear things happening, but I never see anything happening.
Wait, which part was that?
Was that? Did I imagine that? When they're talking to somebody and they're like, I hear somebody harvesting, but I never see anybody harvesting or doing work.
Maybe you were just hearing that.
You know what? It's been a rough week, my guys.
Maybe Lando was saying it when he was like talking to Han about how suspicious he was.
Right, because I thought there was a part where he was talking about how suspicious, like that there's not enough people to actually run this, but it sounds like work is being done.
Oh,
He
that's
did
a
say
good
something like it
detail.
didn't look like the place could get off the ground in like 3 minutes notice. He was talking about that.
The camp doesn't sound super busy either.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you think they're underground or?
I mean, if they're supposed to take off in a minute in short time's notice, I doubt they're underground. But
Maybe, but they're also supposed to be hidden from space.
yeah,
So.
I mean, they could probably just leave a lot of it behind too if they had to.
Yeah, I guess
but
so.
also, like, being underground is not great for like quick escape.
No. Because like in the chapter just before, they talked about how it was hidden throughout the crags of wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
But then this also sounds like it's in a big open field.
Right.
We didn't get much of a description of the environment. And I just imagined like a huge landing pad, just all this concrete, and then just walking from one tent to another.
See, I think I was kind of imagining like a moon base or something.
What is chapter 16 about? Hang on.
We'll find
We're
out
in chapter 15.
Find out next time on the Lost Holocron.
Never mind then.
But in this one, there's a callback to chapter 4, I guess, where the Bothans had that engagement of a new Corv. And I think that's what Bel Iblis was talking about when he said, like, oh, we established a trade post through there and they whistled up some help when we needed it to have a big distraction. And that's why the Bothans were fighting so hard around this area in the Churba sector, because they were trying to get the heat off Bel Iblis at his request. So I think that's why we've got this little connection happening from the past coming in now for them to pick up, and that's why Han and Lando are here now.
I like it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a good subtle through line, I feel.
Things coming together.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Nice and planned out.
Yeah.
And we love it when Star Wars plans, guys. Love it when they plan ahead.
Right.
I don't know, because the original trilogy was also a lot of improvisation and details changing pretty quickly last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of having good ideas, honestly. Whether you come up with them ahead of time or on the spot, doesn't matter.
I've been wondering a lot because I've seen on the Reddit, particularly the argument between why the original trilogy was good and the sequel trilogy is not. And there are defenders of each side and whatnot. And people keep mentioning biographies of people that were on the sets of the original trilogy. And I would like to pick up those books to read.
Yeah. Same. I got to hunt one down.
You've never read any of them, guys?
Mm-mm.
No? All right.
No.
We've got to do our homework.
We do. Listen, I just get hearsay from the internet. That's all I need. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by El Iblis's perspective, or like the perspective he's representing in this story. Because when we first got here, I was like, okay, we have yet another faction. How on earth is this going to fit into the story? Like, do we have too many now? But this one made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He's the anti-fascist group.
Yeah,
and
but the Rebellion is also an anti-fascist group.
Yeah, but he's like the more radical anti-fascist group. I guess you could say libertarian anti-fascist, maybe.
Yeah. He's kind of, the watchdog for both sides, though, because, like he said, if Mon Mothma becomes a dictator or whatever, then...
He's the, Forrest Whitaker's character.
Oh, yeah.
Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera.
He's the Saw Gerrera of this timeline.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Just not as bloodthirsty,
right.
from what we've seen.
Not as...
No, not yet. It doesn't seem so.
Saw Gerrera introduced?
In Rogue One.
That was his introduction?
No, he was...
Clone Wars.
There was no way that was his introduction.
What?
No, Clone Wars.
Right, he was in Clone Wars.
Yeah. It was just his introduction played by Forrest Whitaker.
Oh my goodness, how did I not make this connection before?
Because Forrest Whitaker just absolutely steals the character.
He does.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Saw Gerrera's a Legends character, too.
Yeah.
What?
What?
Wait,
That's what I
hold
thought.
on. No, he is not a Legends character. He was in the Clone Wars, which crosses both streams.
Oh.
Okay.
So, technically, he would be like a first wave canon character. One that made the jump.
That's crazy. I was going to say, there's no way that he only shows up in Rogue One.
He's an Andor, too.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah. He
I
makes
wasn't
that-
saying that's his only appearance.
Right,
Just
no,
his
yeah.
potential first one.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first in the Clone Wars, and then just continually more radicalized throughout his appearances.
Yeah, honestly. I wonder if Forrest Whitaker started that. Maybe. Actually,
Gave him
No,
an
I-
end point.
yeah, I actually remember Saw being more intense in Rebels compared to Clone Wars.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. But he also did have the kind of, nationalist
Yeah.
stance
What?
in Clone Wars, because he was like, we can defend our own city, and didn't his sister need to get him convinced to
Yeah.
accept the Jedi's help? And then she ends up dying, so he holds that grudge even further and just walks down that dark path.
Right. I forgot. Was he he was younger than the sister? Or was he older?
Clone Wars rewatch. Let's do it.
Yep.
We haven't seen Saw Gerrera at his, in his prime. We only saw him when he was younger, and then way later when he was older.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rogue One, he seemed pretty radicalized.
Yeah. Fallen Order is the closest we've seen to Prime Saw Gerrera.
Oh, he was in Fallen Order?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never got to play the games. So.
He was doing some liberation on Kashyyyk.
Yeah, Wookiee liberation. Help the
Yeah.
Wookiees. Yeah. The Wookiees are our friends. So yeah, cool to see a character like this.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's a good, I want to say third perspective, but I guess third political perspective in the story of you've got the two sides, and then you've got the one side that's kind of wary of this isn't just a, we had the joke before about want to have a revolution, and then they don't have a plan for what happens next, so they just start a new dictatorship.
No.
So
It's
I guess
it's
Bel Iblis
unfortunately.
is a student of history.
I would believe it, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Mon Mothma has it in her to become new emperor?
Has any emperor earned the right to be emperor?
Probably not.
I don't feel like we've gotten enough of her character in this story or the original trilogy to really make that claim. I mean,
That's a
certainly
good
in
point.
stuff that comes afterwards, she is very
Yeah.
selfless and is very Leia and
Right.
not Leia-esque, but Padme-esque in that way.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly a potential in this timeline.
We saw the most of her in Andor so far, right?
You know?
Yes. Yeah, that's the most extensive story time with her so far.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like she would intentionally become a dictator, but I feel like she could. I feel like she could possibly see a need to become such a role, and she might just be like, well, you know what? I have to do it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, because even Han is well, she's not letting Leia focus on her Jedi study. She's a little bit controlling in that way. So, was it this chapter as well that that they said that they made two of the admirals back down on pet projects because she
Yeah.
decided that it wasn't
It
good
was
enough?
General Nadine and Bail Organa.
Right.
No. Admiral Ackbar, wasn't it? Admiral Ackbar and General
It was
Nadine.
Ackbar and Nadine.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was Ackbar maybe. Sorry.
Yeah.
So she brings the hammer when she needs to.
Yeah, I feel like we do need to see more of her from this context, but
Yeah, I would like to see more of Mon Mothma in these books.
Yeah. I mean, so far the snippets is a little bit, controlling.
Yeah.
I could see it. I see why Bel Iblis would be concerned about that things, particularly from such a, displaced vantage.
Yeah.
Oh, and also how trustworthy are they? I mean, who are they recommending be in power if not her?
Right.
Which is kind of odd because he does seem to be supreme commander of whatever militia this is.
Yeah.
It is not particularly democratic.
No. Maybe he's the one that would actually become an emperor.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's projecting onto Mon Mothma.
Yeah, maybe, honestly.
Right. Could be.
I felt like there were a lot of good writing in this chapter. I liked a lot of the metaphors that Zahn has been putting through these things. Like, I think you're jumping at shadows, and maybe you're putting too much trust in the ghost of a Corellian senator. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ghost of the Corellian Senator. I like that.
Yeah. Particularly because he brings up this might not be the real Bel Iblis. It could be a mock-up set by the Imperials or something.
Right.
Some impersonator.
Yeah. I liked how Lando was kind of playing like detective, and I liked all his observations and deductions. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Lando glaring crushed ice in his direction.
Yeah.
I rewound that part because I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And another good line was, give Bothans a sniff of the soup and they'll climb over each other to be in charge of the ladle.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun metaphor.
Yeah.
Very colorful language this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked how he was like, Bothans don't know what to do with the coup if he gift wrapped it and handed it to him.
On a drinks platter. On a drinks plate.
Yeah. I also liked how Timothy Zahn was like subtly proud of the drink he created.
That sounded like a good one. It was what do you call it?
Bourbon and like fruity, like a tart fruity drink.
Yeah, I love tart stuff.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't have like a trademark logo next to it.
I wonder if we're gonna get the in the first book we had the Frothish Ale, which could also have a trademark next to it. This one, the Twistler.
Yeah, Twistler or something.
Yeah,
Twizzler
and hot chocolate, multiple variations of hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And of course, Lando with his Colt 45.
Yeah. Always.
Oh, and there was in the first book as well, they had certain bottles of wine that when they went to the Lobo to do the gambling.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Timothy Zahn is a heavy drinker, an enthusiastic drinker.
I think I would assume so. I think it's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
It's mentioned quite a bit.
He's I don't know if he's a heavy drinker. I would say he's definitely a connoisseur.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because he's putting effort into making the drinks believable. But also, why does he need to describe the drinks in the first place?
Yeah.
Because he likes it.
He likes it. A little bit of flavor text.
Yeah.
Never hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm. I really liked Lando using his knowledge in this chapter.
Yeah.
I was about to say, like, his worldliness came to an advantage, but we're in a galaxy, so his galaxiness came to an advantage.
Because he of course he was the one that had searched for the Dark Force at some point.
Yeah, researched. Yeah. Spent a whole 2 months.
I feel like that was the Lando's early days, is this kind of like gotta strike gold somewhere. Whereas now he is a bit more of a sure and steady salesman of like, go out, mine something that we know the resources there, put down the initial investment, and then just kind of like build off that in the end. Whereas before, he would have been, which seems more like Han style, to be chasing the kind of old wives' tales and stuff to find the one big break. Whereas Lando doesn't seem like the one big break kind of guy.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Well, Lando's gone respectable now.
Lando has stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's got
stocks and a boatload of Heffrium.
Yeah.
So apparently, I was looking into it right now, and Corellian brandy has become like a big thing in throughout Timothy Zahn's novels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was its first. The Twistler drink first appears in this book. It also shows up in an unabridged audiobook he made, and also the Star Wars Galaxies Empire Divided. But the Corellian brandy is in a lot more of his books.
Hell yeah.
Does it ever mention the fruit, though? The tangy fruit.
I'll be back with more information.
So we get a mention of the Katana fleet. Well, it's a big thing, the Katana fleet, in this one.
I thought that was super cool about Lando's like sudden epiphany. He's like, "Oh, what? This is the Katana. This is a Katana ship."
Yeah.
I thought that was really great.
What do we know about the Katana fleet? Because we know that Fey'lya recognized the ships that were used in this raid, right? Although the ships that were part of the escape from New Corv. And he said that they'd been like retrofitted or something like that. So we know that Thrawn wants these. Do you think he recognizes them as the Katana fleet?
You mean Farrier?
No, Thrawn. He said that he doesn't want
he
doesn't want these things damaged, but he does want them captured.
Oh, goodness.
I
would totally believe it if he did.
I mean, I would definitely. I don't know. I don't foresee them slipping past Thrawn. You know, I definitely think he would recognize them, or at least because were the Katana dreadnoughts unique to the Katana fleet, or were they just like a specific model of dreadnought that they used for the Katana fleet?
I think, well, the fleet would be made up of similar ships, right?
Yeah, I
That's
believe
what makes
so.
the fleet.
Oh yeah, does it? I don't know. Maybe they're not all the same. I guess they don't have to be all the same model, right? Did they specifically say that? I can't remember.
They don't have to be.
Yeah.
I am back with more knowledge on the Corellian brandy, by the way.
You found it?
So it's actually made from real Corellian fruits, a large variety of them to make its tart flavor. And also the sheer amount that it's listed as for the appearances is crazy. I'm also I'm a little confused by this. Most of its appearances, it says mentioned only, but there's some of them where it doesn't say mentioned only, so I don't know what that means. Does it they weren't actively drinking it at the time in the story?
Yeah, that's what that would mean.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's in everything from the games to like the novelization of The Force Unleashed.
Interesting.
But this is the first appearance of it.
Oh wait, we did say that Bel Iblis was in the Force Unleashed, so
yeah, he
he's
was
drinking that in there.
He was.
Yeah.
All right, so I found the bit about Fey'lya recognizing these things. It says, did you happen to recognize the ships attacking the Relentless? I said, of course I did, with a touch of wounded professional pride. They were Randelli Star Drive dreadnoughts, old ones by the looks of them, but spry enough, probably undergone a lot of retrofitting. They have indeed, Thrawn smiled slightly, so maybe he does know.
Yeah.
These are part of the Katana fleet. I want them. Yeah.
So
I would believe it. I'm going with that theory.
Yeah.
How big are dreadnoughts again? They're smaller than Star Destroyers, I'm assuming, right?
I think it's a class of starship.
Well, I don't know, because normally they said it would take about 16,000 crew members, because these only require 2,000.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to. I don't know how many crew members do a Star Destroyer require.
It doesn't particularly. A dreadnought refers to a ship over 5,000 meters long.
Oh.
Even larger ones are super dreadnoughts. The article has a separatist dreadnought Invisible. Corellian dreadnoughts, sports team. Dreadnought cruiser, Geonosian dreadnought, Sith dreadnought. Let's look for Star Destroyer. Defined as a capital ship. Well, we'll go with the Imperial class Star Destroyer because that's the traditional. From the Kuwait Drive Yards is a cruiser class Star Destroyer, a destroyer class Star Destroyer. I'm surprised they are called cruisers. Oh, they're quite small actually. Cruisers are around 400 to 600 meters in size. That seems wrong for a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, right?
What would you expect it to be?
I would have expected maybe at least a kilometer, maybe 2 kilometers long. Because they're city-sized, right?
Okay, so I found something. The Dreadnought class heavy cruiser, made by the Rendili Star Drive manufacturer. These are 600 meters long.
So wait, you're trying to find what the difference between dreadnoughts and star cruisers are?
Well, they're classified as star cruisers, which are up to 600 meters long. But this, according to the Imperial Handbook, a Commander's Guide, an Imperial class Star Destroyer is 1,600 meters long.
So from what I'm seeing here, oh wait, let me make sure do you want legends or canon information?
I got the Legends article up at the moment.
Yeah,
okay.
so
Yeah. From what I'm seeing here, dreadnoughts, the classifications from biggest to smallest is dreadnoughts, battle cruisers, star destroyers, heavy cruisers, frigates, and corvettes. Star destroyers are listed as ships roughly 1,000 to 2,000 meters long.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of the image that I have in mind.
Yeah.
And dreadnoughts are anything over 5,000 meters.
Really?
That's a lot of meters.
Yeah.
Because this article about the Katana fleet says is made of 200 Dreadnought class heavy cruisers. And then if you go to that link, it says they're 600 meters.
I mean, in the description that we got in the escape from New Cov, that it did seem like the Star Destroyer was larger than these cruisers. Because there were 3 of them, and they were just holding their own against the Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
So I think maybe these aren't lining up so much, and we need to consider what's the information presented in the book.
I think I'm seeing like an issue with the naming conventions because I'm looking at it here, and for cruisers, ships roughly 400 to 600 meters long, one of the options under that is the Dreadnought class heavy cruiser. Not to be confused with the Dreadnought class cruisers that are over any ship over 500 meters.
Oh, yeah. This is the heavy cruiser, right? This is the Dreadnought class heavy cruiser.
This sounds like some sort of post hoc bullshit that they had to come up with in order to try to make all these things fit. All right, so Thrawn knows that the Katana fleet is in play.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if he's looking for it.
I think he is now.
Isn't that what he hired Farrier for?
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you think his knowledge runs so deep that he knows that Talon Card saw it 20 years ago or whatever?
He knows exactly where Talon Card was when he saw it, too. He knows exactly what he had for breakfast.
So when he's asking for big ships, he's like, oh, if you happen to know any big ships.
Why would I know anything? Well, just asking.
You burped earlier, and it vaguely smelled like beef, so I assume that you're back in the 40s.
I know your favorite colors are gold and blue.
I just imagine a lot of scenes like in the new canon Thrawn books. There's one where he teams up with Darth Vader, and he keeps dropping these very obvious hints that he knows that he's Anakin Skywalker, and Darth Vader has to keep turning around and saying, "He's dead. Anakin Skywalker no longer
dead,
exists. I owe you nothing."
I love that.
It's like when Prince changed his name. He's like, no, Prince doesn't exist anymore. I'm sure
The chosen one formerly known as Anakin.
And we got mentioned in the Clone Wars again. I wonder what more information we're going to get about it, because
Oh yeah.
what was the last information about the Clone Wars that we got?
I think we might have gone a little bit when Luke was looking up Sabaoth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Early
we got
in this book.
mentions of the Clone Wars in relation to Sabaoth. We've got mentions of the Clone Wars relation with Katana Fleet as well, because they were talking about that just before the Clone Wars broke out, they'd made this Katana Fleet that disappeared into nothing and was kind of a big joke until the Clone Wars started, and then all of a sudden everybody forgot about that because they were at war. So hopefully we might get a lot of talk about what these things were supposed to look like back in 1991.
Yeah. According to Timothy Zahn's vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lando talking about how comfy the headquarters lounge was, and he was like, I really expected it to look like this, and it sounded very utilitarian, the pull down beds and the little tiny kitchen and stuff like that. My wife watches a lot of tiny home stuff on YouTube. Do you guys have any feelings about tiny homes?
Claustrophobia.
They're all right. Yeah. It would be kind of hard for me, but I do enjoy watching YouTube videos of really small New York City apartments.
Oh yeah, I like to watch the ones in like Hong Kong where everything like folds up and like moves around. That's super cool.
It's neat to see what people can do with space.
Yeah. My wife's really big into like the tiny home movement too. She really loves that.
I think it sounds nice. I think it's like very easy to be like, well, it's been 3 years of this, and I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I know. I was getting sick of my last place. It was just starting to feel too small. And now that we got the new place, it's just right.
Yeah. I want to take tiny principles and put them into a much larger home.
Yeah, right.
I think, with tiny homes, you're optimizing for space, and it's better for the environment and everything. When you have a bigger home, it allows you to basically have the same stuff but change the variety. I change the layout of my bedroom constantly, and it makes it feel like a different bedroom. And that's nice.
Yeah.
Change the scenery.
Yeah, if you've only got one configuration of your home, it feels kind of,
I also see a lot of those videos where it's like, this is me and my husband, and we have 7 kids, and we all live in a van.
I saw one where they live in a school bus.
Right, and it's like, here's the kids' bedroom, and it's like a shelf, basically. They slide into.
Yeah.
And then you see the parents' bedroom, and it's like a master bedroom.
Of course. Yeah.
It's like the episode of the Seinfeld when Kramer rents out his closet to Japanese businessmen to stay with him. Doesn't he like kiss them on the forehead goodnight when he puts them in the drawer?
Does he? I don't know if I've seen that episode. That's hilarious.
He just barges into Jerry's apartment. Jerry, it's all the rage in Japan, these tiny capsule hotels. And so he's renting out like just a big chest of drawers, and he's got 3 Japanese businessmen stacked up in a wardrobe.
That's funny.
Good night, Tanaka-san. Good night, Suzuki-san. Do they live in New York? Where is Seinfeld set?
I've never seen Seinfeld.
Set in New York.
What show
Those
isn't?
apartments look so huge for what my image of New York is.
Yeah. Jerry would be loaded to have that apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, even back then.
This place is a minimum of $3,000 a month place.
That's
bare minimum
let's
if
talk
you're
about the
lucky.
housing. Let's talk about housing in America, guys.
It's like, how many antidepressants do you have
Not enough.
for that conversation? Yeah.
No. This is a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah. I liked how they described one of the parts of the settlement like blew over in a storm.
Oh yeah. They had was it bifold technology or something like
Something like that. Yeah, it sounded really cool.
Bi-state memory plastic,
Yeah.
where one of the states must be this kind of compact one, and then another state is the completely assembled, and so you just
cool.
zap it with something and it unfolds itself like some big origami thing.
Like Batman's cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like they probably like jolt it with some kind of electricity to go one way, and then they jolt it
get it to
again
flip.
to go the other way, and it's like
That's
some
what
like,
Batman does to get his glider.
it's like the lightning from the storm collapsed it or whatever. That's what I got.
Yeah. That's funny, actually.
It'd be funny if they just have to wait for the next storm to then be flipped back the other way.
Everybody's just like squished up against each other.
No.
Speaking of tiny homes.
Right.
New nightmare unlocked.
It's like, all right, who farted?
Tim, who's the cave guy? The human holes of whatever cliff face.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Get him to write another story about
The
folding houses.
He both has it's really in the tiny homes.
The enigma of the Amagari fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a home that fits you perfectly. It's just like,
It's my hole. It was made for me.
it's my tiny home. It was made for me.
Is that his name, Tim? Junji Ito?
Junji Ito, yes.
Junji Ito.
Yeah.
So we talked in the last book when there was that fight between the Imperials with Lando wanting to trust Luke about the plans that were going on, the tactics that were going on Merca. They were trying to ambush them. And Tim brought up about Lando having this moment of pathos, and we found this four modes of persuasion: the pathos, the ethos, the kairos, and the logos, which we said was maybe a good frame for looking at the different interactions between characters in particularly non-combat chapters. I think might be a place, but like all combat has some element of non-combat. So those how the tactics play out or the dynamics between different characters, I think was interesting frame to use. And I feel like in this chapter as well, we've got ethos relies on the credibility as a method of convincing other people. Pathos is about persuasion and appealing to human emotions. Logos is appealing to the logical side. Kairos is appealing about the timing. That Bel Iblis, well, Han is kind of in a state of believing in Bel Iblis because he's this person of like,
it's kind of like a historical icon for him.
Yeah, it's his historical icon. And whereas, although Lando seems a little bit like he's acting emotionally through these things, I think that actually is Han's position. He's acting emotionally in relation to this argument, whereas the Lando has this kind of emotional surface, but he is picking up on these small things that he finds out later. Like, this isn't a place that people are ready to move. This isn't, they're not performing raids, but there's something fishy going on here, and he's seeing the kind of logic underneath all these things. But I wondered if you guys had any ideas about because we've only got 3 characters having this interaction, right? We've got Han, Bel Iblis, and Lando. Where do you think people fit in this framework?
I think I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to convince them of, and if they did it shoddy enough of, like, what do they want? I guess because I mean it is a new faction. We obviously don't know the true intention, who wants what. I mean, are they actually even being led by him, or is he a face for a front? Because I mean, it's super common to get like, war heroes or like semi-popular idols to be like, I want something done, but I'm gonna put the Colonel for KFC up in the front of this to make it look much more appealing.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, is that we don't actually know what Bel Iblis is wanting out of this. He wants the information, right? Is the Republic standing for what it's standing for, or is it just a front for a new dictatorship? But then what's he going to do with that information? Do you think he wants to join? Do you think he...
I don't know. I'm not getting that impression. I feel like he likes being neutral.
Yeah. Okay, maybe this isn't a path worth going down at the moment. Something to look at later, maybe.
We do have a mention of Delta Source.
Ooh. Yeah. Do you guys have any ideas about what it is?
I don't know. I mean, I really want to start pointing my fingers at the Bothans.
Yeah?
I don't know. That's the only... I don't know. That's just what makes sense to me, but...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think if it was Bothans, then Bel Iblis would know about it since he's in league with them, and that would be something of them to be talking about together.
Yeah, but I don't know. The Bothans also seem like they're really sneaky, and I'm not talking about the entire Bothans. I mean, like the 2 that we know of, Fey'lya and Brey'lya.
Fey'lya and Brey'lya.
Yeah.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Right. But they also make it seem like the Bothans aren't smart enough to be double agents like that. So I don't know, but
maybe.
I feel like, I don't know, knowing Star Wars is probably gonna be like a bush or something.
It's gonna be a what?
It's gonna be a bush, a nice bush. That's
what bush. It's gonna be the razor grass.
Little patch of crabgrass. The Delta Source.
Just a sentient bush of some kind. That's
the grass, the whisper on the wind, and flow through the grass.
Not just any sentient bush, the sentient bush.
The sentient bush.
There's a lot of sentient bushes out there, Stuart.
Like the one from Little Shop of Horrors.
Feed me, Seymour. What was the name? RG2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, RG2.
You guys Little Shop of Horror fans?
No, I don't think I ever saw that. I've never even heard of that.
I don't know. I wanted it to be more of like a movie about a killer plant that just went around eating people, but I was very disappointed.
Well, that's what the end is.
That's the end? Okay. Well, it's been a very long time since I've seen it also. I don't think I got that far. I wanted it to be like a horror movie, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Wasn't there a book and a movie called The Day of the Tulip or The Day of the something about killer plants that come to... No, killer plants that come to Earth.
Maybe. You ever hear of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? That's a classic.
Oh, yeah. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Oh, here we go. 15 plant movies. That looks very familiar. Triffids.
Yeah.
Day of the Triffids.
Wait. You're talking about The Happening with Mark Wahlberg.
No, I'm pretty sure it was No, it was a book called The Day of the Triffids.
Okay.
Day of the Triffids?
Is a fictional, tall, mobile, carnivorous plant species created by John Wyndham in his 1951 novel Day of the Triffids.
Oh.
I've never heard of this.
I really like old sci-fi from like the 50s.
I feel like it was a much more wild time, and sci-fi could be anything.
Yeah. And like most of what we know now came from those.
Yeah.
Like the Dying Earth was a really cool story.
Star Wars ruined it all. Now everyone's just trying to be Star Wars.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of good sci-fi out there at the moment. We've got...
Oh yeah, not saying there isn't. But...
I was joking. I just like talking about Star Wars during the Star Wars podcast. No, I think there's a lot of other ones out there. I mean, Dune's good. Dune's a fantastic sci-fi movie.
What do you think is missing from sci-fi recently that was like anything goes in the old times?
I feel like there was a lot more camp. a lot more camp, a lot more like how do you describe Flash Gordon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Is Flash Gordon a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, or it takes itself serious in the right amount?
I don't know.
No, but I think I know what you're getting at. Like the original Star Wars as well is very melodramatic, right? Whereas now a lot of sci-fis take themselves very seriously, but we don't get that kind of over-the-top, real space opera type stuff in a lot of the modern ones.
I mean, like, you know, I think it's just, I don't think it's any one's fault. I think it's just the time era. I like a lot more movies feel like they have to take themselves seriously, because if they don't, then they're not taken seriously by fans, and everyone wants their big franchise.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of sci-fi nowadays is written by sci-fi fans. And a lot of the stuff from like the early, like the 40s, 50s is whatever, like they were inventing the genre as they went along.
Right. They're being influenced by stuff that already exists. And like, you know,
but not necessarily sci-fi. Yeah.
There was a time where science fiction was like, in the future, the year is 1990.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Because A Clockwork Orange is a science fiction movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Science fiction doesn't always have to take place in space.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, I think I kind of miss movies that don't take themselves as seriously. That's why I like watching stupid movies like Sasquatch versus D.B. Cooper. I enjoy movies that are ridiculous. Like, you know, I used to love watching the scary movies, films. Those were so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why I love Spaceballs so much.
Well, yeah, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. Like, I was trying to think of the name of that director. I want to say Mel Gibson, but I know that's not it.
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, there we go.
Yeah. He's the director and I think writer too. And
I think I think he was. I did watch an interesting YouTube essay on how Mel Brooks's critique of Nazism and white supremacy is something that hasn't been co-opted by actual white supremacists. Because in his, what was it? I want to say Springtime for Hitler, but I don't think that's the movie. The Producers.
Oh, yeah.
In The Producers, it is just so campy, and it's just eroding this sense of, like, I want to say awe around Hitler, that things like American History X and other movies that want to show the brutalism of white supremacists, but white supremacists find that cool. And so they can co-opt that into saying, like, look how strong or how hard or how fierce these things are. But they can't co-opt The Producers when they've got canning
right
SS soldiers and stuff. Well, it was quite an interesting essay about why certain forms of parody are valuable and not an endorsement of these things at all.
What are you excited for in the next chapter, Stuart?
I want more information about the Clone Wars and the Katana fleet. So I wonder if we're going to get something from the smugglers, whether they're going to tie in, because now we've got more information about, not more information, but we've got more, like the stakes are being raised on the Katana fleet. So I wonder if they're going to come back in.
Does part of you, like when you say, I'm excited to hear about the Clone Wars, so part of you get sad if you hear stuff about Legends Clone War stuff and it's like really cool and it's like, oh, could have been better.
No,
I'm convinced.
I kind of take it all as it is. I have mentioned before that I do like a little bit more of a loose cannon, like is in the Legend of Zelda franchise, where things sort of fit together if you squint really hard.
We can get into this. Everyone's like, the Legend of Zelda timeline's too confusing. I look at it and it's like, yeah, okay, makes sense. What do you want?
Yeah.
There's 3 ways this could have happened. You either die, you save the world and stay a child, or you save the world and become an adult. 3 timelines.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty. And then that's the way that it goes. It's like the Legend of Zelda is a legend. It's a legend. Legends inspired on other legends, whereas people want to take it a little bit too strictly. That they're describing real events and they have to line up in such a way that it works out. Like somebody was saying, like there was a meme about Obi-Wan Kenobi telling Luke, for 1,000 generations the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace across the galaxy, but then only 3,000 years earlier, or 4,000 years earlier, there's the Knights of the Old Republic, where you go around just slashing stuff up, killing a bunch of people, and 1,000 generations is a metaphor. It's not a math problem for you to solve.
Yeah, and I think that is the big thing, is that, like, as a fan of a franchise, you want to know. You want to know all the information. And sometimes information's gonna conflict. And, like, I think a big example of that is the whole Fallout TV show that just came out. There's a huge, like, debate happening because the timeline on a chalkboard doesn't add up exactly perfectly with the rest of Fallout canon. But it's like, it's not, even though it's not that important, people take it very seriously and they want to know.
Yeah. How does that work in Resident Evil?
It's a mess. Like, you can, like, they add things in constantly. And they're like, oh man, this happened 1,000 years ago and it's super important. And then the next thing it's like, you know what's even more important? 1,000 years before that. But in Africa.
Right.
Like in the most recent one, Resident Evil Village, it's like discovered that one of the founding members of Umbrella was like hiking through the mountains of wherever the hell Resident Evil Village takes place, and like just so happened to find the mold. And the mold is what started it all. It's been the mold the whole time, even though that was just introduced in the last game.
Right.
So it's okay. Even when you look into the timeline of the video games, it's not clear what happens in a single game, because when you look up Resident Evil 1, it's like, well, there's Chris's playthrough and there's Joe's playthrough, so which one is canon? And their story is like, they're both kind of running around doing different things at different times. They kind of go with Chris more than Joe because it makes more sense for the future games that Wesker is extremely pissed at Chris for ruining his plans than more so than Joe. Yeah.
So I'm reading a book called The Art of Language Invention at the moment, which is about a guy who has done conlangs for Thor: The Dark World, the Game of Thrones series
Okay.
and some other sci-fi series, I think. And
he does what for him?
He makes the languages, the
Okay.
fictional languages for them, which they call conlangs, which is constructed languages. And just like you said about this thing on the whiteboard not adding up in the end, that he takes his job very seriously, and people do take these jobs very seriously because the nerds take them very seriously. In the background, people are like, why is this verb conjugated differently from when it was said over here? And it's like, wow.
I mean, that's interesting. And it's just sometimes I think people in life are very passionate about things, and sometimes not as much effort is put into it as you think. And I think that goes for a lot of things, is that people think things are a lot harder than they actually are. And sometimes it's just stupid people running in the background. Like, I work with people who talk on computers all day now. And like, I think there's people who have been there for like 2 years longer than me. And they'll be like, my computer's not making any noise, and I have to go turn the volume up on the computer. And I'm like, it's okay, buddy. It happens to everyone. So, and then that happens on all levels of society. Like, I'm sure there's people in all political offices all over the world that if you walk into their office on a day-to-day basis, that they're doing something stupid for some reason that they don't fully understand, but it's the way that they've been doing it. So
they're using their cow tools. That's interesting to think about, though, that people are doing it the wrong way, but it sort of works, but it's not the way that it's supposed to work.
Just like in governments.
I imagine I write a lot of Python code that is exactly like that.
And sometimes that's just how the world is. I mean, technically, you're not supposed to use a wrench to beat in a nail, but I've done it before.
Wow.
One thing that I deal with constantly when I'm talking with people is they're like, "Oh, take a screenshot." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and then I press a button and I'll do the screenshot on my computer. They're like, "Wait, what'd you just do?" And I was like, "I took a screenshot," and they're like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "How do you do it?" And they take the keyboard and they type in snip, and then they click on an app that opens up, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Who's taking us out this one?
Garm Bel Iblis, Scott.
Yep.
Pay us out, Johnny.
Okay. This has been The Lost Holocron. You can find transcripts, links to discussions, and more at our website, lostholocron.com. While you are there, you can learn how you can support the creation of future episodes. Read on, and we will be waiting for you in the next transmission. We would be honored if you would join us.